Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said something that got her the ire of conservatives and the establishment. So take a look at this. This article is from The Hill. They're referencing an Ocasio-Cortez tweet. She apparently said death panels exist in the private health insurance market. So as you can imagine, the responses to this were over the top. They were hysterical. They also happened to be flat out factually wrong, and I'll touch on that more in just a little bit. But the media is now clearly working overtime to try to use this as proof that Ocasio-Cortez is the left-wing equivalent of Sarah Palin. That's what they're trying to put out there. I saw this as a concerted effort going back a few weeks. It started with the right trying to paint her as like, oh, she's the left Sarah Palin. And then now, they're trying to make that more widespread. But again, the hilarious thing is they're misfiring and picking horrible examples of the case that they're trying to make because, of course, she's 100% correct. So I know, see, this is one of those things, you know how people on the right say, oh, you don't like what I'm saying only because it's politically incorrect. That's like how they think they're edgy. Like, ooh, I'm just saying something that's true, but sounds wrong. So I'm just politically incorrect, and that's why you guys are all triggered. You snowflakes are all melting, and you're triggered. No, oftentimes when the right thinks they're being politically incorrect, they're just being incorrect. They just got something wrong. Whereas what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said here, no, that's actually politically incorrect. As in, what you're saying is factually true, but people don't want to hear it. So they flip out and act like you said something wrong, when in reality you're 100% correct. So, why don't we go back a little bit? I don't know how many years ago this was made. Probably 8-9 years ago, something like that. This is an old clip from CNN Money. They are talking about the exact same thing that Ocasio-Cortez referenced. The idea that health insurance companies have death panels. Now, they might not use the exact, phrase death panel or term death panel, but you're about to see how that is exactly what it really is. Take a look.
When Robin Baton isn't selling antiques,
he hugged me every day.
She's fighting a battle on two fronts. One against breast cancer, the other against her insurance company.
I trusted them, and they let me down really bad.
Just 3 days before she was scheduled to undergo a double mastectomy last year, Baton says she got this letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas.
They rescinded my policy completely.
After learning of Baton's diagnosis, the insurance company investigated her medical history, found something she had not disclosed, then canceled her coverage. It's a little-known industry practice called rescission.
And what was that like when you got that letter saying your policy had been rescinded?
It was like they were issuing my death.
So what was Baton's undisclosed condition? Her dermatologist says Baton had warts.
Nothing precancer in any way, and absolutely nothing related or that would have any involvement with breast cancer.
So she fought back.
I pray that you will listen to my story and help people like me.
Telling a hearing on Capitol Hill, she called Texas Congressman Joe Barton, who called the insurance company, and raised hell.
If somebody inadvertently omits something, or there's something that's not material to the claim, that claim, in my opinion, should be paid. End of story.
Blue Cross of Texas reinstated Baton's policy and paid for her surgery.
I owe my life to Joe Barton.
Company officials declined to discuss Baton's case, but released a statement to CNN saying, during our review of such cases, every effort is taken to retain the members' coverage. An insurance industry spokesperson acknowledged rescission is controversial.
I think we understand that this is a problem, and we strongly advocate for making changes that will do away with this.
But at the hearing, 3 insurance CEOs were asked to take a stand against rescission.
Would you commit today that your company will never rescind another policy unless there was intentional fraud?
I would not commit to that. No, sir. We follow the state laws and regulations.
No, I can't commit to that.
But the journey hasn't ended.
No, I don't think it ever ends when you have cancer.
Still battling her cancer, Robin Baton now wants to take on the insurance industry, an industry she says messed with the wrong Texan.
They will not be able to do that again. They can't do what they did to me. It won't happen. It's going to stop.
The insurance industry insists rescissions are rare, but a congressional report found the practice is profitable, saving insurance companies $300 million over the last 5 years. Jim Acosta, CNN, Dallas.
When you have a for-profit, private health insurance system, there's an incentive problem when it comes to healthcare. Because how do these health insurance companies make more money and pad the bottom line? How do they do it? The answer is simple. By denying as much care as possible. The less they pay out on claims, the more money they have for profit and for their shareholders. So there's a basic issue there. There's a giant incentive issue. They are financially incentivized and, in fact, mandated by law to increase profits for their shareholders. But in order to do that, you need to not pay out on as many claims as possible. So you're going to be a weasel and look for ways to not cover stuff that people need desperately. To the point where, guys, there's a term for it. There were literal branches of health insurance companies that do this. Oh, we do rescission, so we look for, oh, did you not disclose that you had warts when you were younger? Therefore, that's a pre-existing condition. Therefore, we're not going to cover the treatment for your cancer. So, spare me. Anybody who ever made an argument about, death panels in single-payer countries, why don't you care about the death panels that we have in the United States right now? By the way, everybody has to, quote-unquote, ration care. Everybody does. Every country that has a healthcare system has to do that. The question is, how do you ration it? And in the United States, we go, basically, how big's your wallet? That will determine the kind of care you get. Whereas when you look at single-payer countries, they do it by, hey, who needs the care? Whoever needs it gets it. And that is obviously the most rational way to do rationing. So all of the arguments that are used against single-payer systems, it's actually the case that for-profit health insurance companies are more guilty of it. So it's almost like every argument is just projection. So when you look at the studies on this, the United States has the worst healthcare system in the developed world by 1.5 miles. It's not even close. Where there was a Commonwealth Fund study, looked at 11 different developed countries and their healthcare systems. The United States was 11, dead last. We pay twice what other countries pay, and we get worse health outcomes, and we have nearly 30 million people uninsured. Ocasio-Cortez is 100% correct about this. And all you get from the establishment and from the right is politically correct outrage based on nothing. You said something that makes me feel bad because it's about our country and it's not glowing praise. So bad, wrong. People were going after her in the responses, in the comments on Twitter. And it was hilarious. It's like one person after the other, no fucking earthly idea what the fuck they're talking about. Not even bothering to try to understand her point because they're partisan hacks. Meanwhile, all she's doing is pointing out a real problem and trying to fix it. We know the answer. The answer is Medicare for all. You do understand that medical bills are one of the top causes of bankruptcy in the U.S., right? Medical bankruptcies are not a thing in other developed countries. It's just not. So, you can go bankrupt, or if you don't have the insurance, you don't have the money, you just don't get the care and you die. What the fuck else do you want to call that other than a death panel? I'm always reminded of that line in John Q, Denzel Washington movie, where he's screaming, he's like, sick, help. That's the way it should work. Sick, help. That's right, that is the way it should work. Other developed countries have crafted systems where that's the case. Where you walk out and it's like, hey, how much do I owe? Nothing, get out. Here, forget it. Even people who have insurance have like a $5,000 deductible. So I love that. You pay them every month, and then when something happens, they're like, oh, that's cool. By the way, you owe us $5,000, and then we'll take care of the rest. Bitch, what? Then why have I been paying you every single fucking month? I pay you so much money every month, and then when something happens, you still tell me, oh, you just get the first $5,000, then we'll take... The fuck is this bullshit? And I love the idea that idiots are like, yeah, but why don't you want, like, choice, man? Why don't you want some choice? Why don't I want choice? It's healthcare, dipshit. Like, the idea that it's like, well, what do you mean choice? Okay, so if something happens to my spleen, I don't want any help, so I'm going to go ahead and put an X on that one. But if I get into a car accident, okay, I'll take the coverage for the car accident. Heart attack, let's do 50% coverage for a heart attack. The fuck? It's healthcare. It's healthcare. You're not going to a fucking ice cream store and picking vanilla or chocolate. It's healthcare. I mean, it's like brain worms for people who are not on the proper side of this issue already. But I got good news. 70% of the country agrees with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They want Medicare for all. Even 52% of Republicans want Medicare for all. This issue is settled among regular people. Everything else is just fucking noise. So you can go ahead and clutch your pearls all you want and be snowflakes all you want when she says something true, but it doesn't change the reality of the situation that what she said is indeed true. There are death panels, and they're the for-profit health insurance companies.